My father used to be my hero, the steady center of our home. My mother was the person I trusted most. For most of my childhood, I thought nothing could shake us. But everything changed when my father began spending more time with someone from work. At first, it seemed harmless, just late hours and excuses, until excuses turned into distance, and distance turned into whispers and quiet arguments behind closed doors. I didn't understand the details back then, only the heavy feeling that something was wrong. When my parents finally divorced, the truth was impossible to ignore. My father had fallen for another woman, and that woman eventually moved into our home. She became my stepmother. She tried to act gentle, as if patience alone could erase the damage. She asked me simple questions, like how my day went, whether I had eaten, whether I needed anything. But every word from her felt like a reminder of what was broken. I avoided her, answered with short replies, and kept my distance. To me, she was the reason my mother cried at night, the reason I felt like a stranger in my own home. My father acted as if we all simply needed time. He pretended the air wasn't thick with resentment. He kept telling me to give her a chance, but I didn't want to. I didn't care how kind she sounded. I didn't care how careful she was with her steps around me. I saw her as the proof that love could betray you. And I held on to that anger tightly, as if letting it go would mean betraying my mother. I didn't realize then how heavy anger can be or how silently it changes you from the inside. It happened on a day that was already too heavy. I had been holding everything in for months, anger, confusion, guilt, and it finally collapsed all at once. A small argument at school triggered it, something insignificant on the surface, but it cracked through everything I had been keeping buried. I came home before anyone else, dropped my bag by the door, and walked straight to the bathroom without turning on any lights. I filled the tub with hot water because I didn't know what else to do. I just needed something to quiet the noise in my head. I sat there, knees pulled close, and suddenly the tears wouldn't stop. It was the kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep, where words don't exist, only pressure and release. I tried to stay silent, covering my mouth with my hands, but the sound found its way out anyway. My stepmother came home earlier than usual. I heard her footsteps pause outside the bathroom door. She didn't knock right away. She must have heard me. After a moment, she called my name, not demanding, not prying, just gentle. I told her I was fine, though my voice made it painfully obvious I wasn't. She didn't push the door open. She didn't try to force a conversation. She just stayed on the other side and said she was there if I needed someone. I told her to leave, voice breaking again, but she didn't go. She didn't speak for a while, she just stayed. And for the first time, her presence didn't feel like intrusion. It felt like someone refusing to abandon me. I didn't realize until then how exhausted I was from holding on to the anger, how tired I was of trying to pretend I was unaffected. In that silence, the wall I had been guarding for so long began to crack. I didn't invite her in, but I didn't tell her to leave again either. The water had gone lukewarm, and I was shivering a little, though I couldn't tell if it was from the cold or from the weight of everything I'd been holding back. She finally opened the door just enough to step inside, moving slowly, like she didn't want to startle me. She didn't touch me or come close to the tub. She just sat on the floor with her back against the cabinet. For a while, neither of us said anything. I cried quietly, and she let me. No questions, no explanations, no attempts to fix me. Just presence. After some time, she spoke, her voice steady but low. She said she knew I hated her, and she understood why. She told me she never wanted to replace my mother or erase her place in my life. She admitted she handled things wrong, that falling in love doesn't excuse the hurt it causes. She didn't defend herself, didn't try to justify the past. She simply apologized, not the quick kind people say to move forward, but the kind that carries weight and responsibility. The kind that acknowledges damage. Her words didn't magically undo anything. They didn't erase the memory of my mother crying or the confusion I lived with. But somewhere in that quiet room, I realized I had never once considered that she might hurt too. I had painted her as the villain because it was easier to hate than to understand. As I sat there, surrounded by water and silence, the anger that once felt sharp began to soften. Not disappear, just soften. And in that moment, she stopped being the symbol of everything I lost. She became a person. Imperfect, flawed, guilty, and still trying. And for the first time, I didn't push her away. In the days that followed, nothing changed suddenly. There were no dramatic reunions, no sudden warmth around the dinner table. But the silence between us shifted. It wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't resentful. It was simply quiet, the kind that leaves space to breathe. I didn't start calling her mom, and she didn't expect me to. She didn't act like the moment in the bathroom meant everything was fixed. She continued being patient, still careful, but no longer distant. She didn't try to force closeness. She let it grow on its own, slowly, like something fragile that needed time. I began noticing small things. How she packed my lunch even when I left too early for anyone to see. How she folded my laundry with a neatness that reminded me of my mother. How she always checked the temperature of food before handing it to me, like it was instinct. These weren't attempts to win anything. They were habits of someone who cares more than they know how to say. I started responding, not warmly, but honestly. A thank you here. A small conversation there. It was gradual, almost quiet enough to miss unless you were paying attention. Looking back now, I realize that family isn't something that always arrives whole. Sometimes it is built after everything breaks. Sometimes it forms out of regret, patience, and the courage to try again. I still love my mother deeply. Nothing will replace her place in my life. But I learned that loving her didn't require hating someone else. I learned that people can be more than the worst decisions they've made. And I learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means allowing room for something new. In that moment years ago, I thought I was falling apart. Now I understand I was beginning to rebuild.